Hey friends, this is an off-election cycle, but there are some important state and local election issues that we want to talk about in our podcast today. It seems like Americans and candidates have never been more polarized on some of these issues, but many of them are dangerous threats to our liberties, to our freedoms, and unfortunately, it seems like in most of these races, the Democrats are clinging on to woke policies and rhetoric as they haven't learned from the previous election. So we're going to dive into that. Also want to talk to you about Macron's attack on the internet, on free speech, all in the name of protecting democracy. It seems like the leftists and globalists never learn their lessons. Anyway, so much to talk about today. We hope you'll join us.
Hey, welcome to the Ron Johnson Discipleship Podcast.
Hey, if you guys are watching this now, I want you to know Matthew and I survived probably the most emotionally traumatic event this past Sunday. We watched the Bears, and by the way, I wish I could pan over and show you Matthew's outfit. He is all Bears this morning. But we witnessed the most exciting game only because it ended well. Of course, you're completely out of it now.
I have no clue what you're talking about.
Well, the Bears had a 2-touchdown lead.
Over
who were we playing? Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay.
With how many minutes ago was that? Like 3? Yeah. 2-touchdown lead, 3 minutes ago, like game over. And we lost the lead.
Okay.
Lost the lead. This was on. We lost an onside kick. We gave up a 2-point conversion. I mean, we gave up everything imaginable. The only thing worse than Chicago's defense Sunday was Cincinnati Bengals defense because we drove down with like 50 seconds or something like that, no timeouts. And ended up scoring a touchdown and winning the game. It was the most, and for the Bears to score as many points as they scored in one game, normally it would take us like half the season to score that many points with our offense. But that was a bright spot, wasn't it? We were scoring points.
It's my weekly Bears update.
But I am a little traumatized. I'm still a little shaking right now.
Yeah, because I'm sure when they're coming back, you're triggered. Years and years of like
years
again.
of watching us have victory snatched from the
the jaws.
How's that go? Yeah. Anyway, we know how to lose.
When the jaws of victory snatched defeat or something like that. Yeah.
It was bad. But hey, we're in first place, and Matthew was so excited he called me up. I appreciate it. It was like we could say, yes, did you see that game? Yes, I did. Wasn't it awesome? Because we've had so many other times where we communicate. How could we have lost that game? Anyway, I'm so glad that the world does not revolve around what happens in the NFL on Sunday, but it was fun. Nice. So let's talk about what the world is revolving around. We have a lot of things going on right now. But hey, here's what I've heard it said before, and I believe it, that it's the intercessors who control human destiny and history. It's people, unseen people on their knees, some of them only known by heaven, whose prayer and intercession literally changes the course of human history. That's what we were about this morning. You guys are hearing this on Thursday, but as you all know, Monday we kicked off our 21 days of prayer and fasting. And, whenever, I'll just share from a pastoral perspective, whenever you call a prayer meeting, you never know what you're getting into, especially, let alone a 6 a.m. prayer meeting on a Monday morning after a busy weekend. You never know what to expect, but I'll tell you what, I was so moved this morning to see. I mean, it looked like first service, a normal first service attendance. The whole bottom was full. We had people up in the balcony as well.
We had about 300 people this morning.
Yeah, well, more than that, I believe. Anyway, it was an incredible outpouring. And not just the attendance, but the prayer, which is why we're there. It was amazing. So I want to encourage everybody, if you're free, on Monday through Friday, we'll be there at 6 to 7, and Saturday 8 to 9, and we're going to do that for the first 21 days of this month. And I'm excited to see what God's going to do.
Prayer and fasting.
Today we prayed for our nation. We prayed for the elections that are coming up. In fact, again, by the time you're watching this, the elections will have just gotten over. You'll have more information than we had at the time of this podcast recording. But let's talk a little bit about that. There's some important races that are happening, particularly out east.
Yeah, I think the minor ones, or quote-unquote minor ones, are the couple Supreme Court elections and state Supreme Court in Pennsylvania. I think Trump tweeted about that. And then the ones everyone hear about,
Yep.
New York City mayoral race, Virginia governor's race, and New Jersey governor's race.
Yeah. And what's especially amazing about all three of those races is the radical polarization that's happening between the candidates. Like, let's just take the Virginia race, and we've talked about this. Winsome Sears is an African-American woman, strong Christian, Holy Ghost lady, Bible-believing lady. She's been on Flashpoint numerous times during this campaign where they've helped her get her message out and talk about what's going on. But again, she's up against a radical leftist Democrat, Abigail Spanberger. And, you know, we talked about the whole lieutenant governor race out there.
Attorney
General race in the last podcast, where this gentleman actually was fantasizing about the death of his political opponent, including the man's wife and kids. I mean, and this has never been condemned by Spanberger, or even the irony of it all is we had former President Barack Obama stumping for Jay Jones. And so here's a guy who, again, is, we would say you're a psycho. I mean, anybody that wishes the death of your political opponent and then doesn't really back down from that, and then nobody's condemning it. And now you have a former president campaigning, and this is a president who's always talking about moderation and we need to tone down the rhetoric and all this kind of stuff. And he's out campaigning for a guy that says he was used the 2 bullets to kill his opponent. You know, I mean, this is unbelievably hypocritical. Let alone just outright depraved that this person is even in the race. But to have Barack Obama campaigning for someone like this, it shows you his true colors. And frankly, I've been tired of the lecturing that we had to go through for the 4 years of his presidency. As he stood on his, soapbox for 4 years. He's doing it again, only this time he has absolutely no credibility to support somebody like this. It's ideological zealotry at its best.
Well, you and I, we say, hey, the best candidate, forget their race. Doesn't matter what their race is. Let's look at their competency. Let's look at their stance. Let's look at their value. Let's look at what they stand for. The left use race all the time.
Right.
And unless the person they're opposing is a minority. So that's exactly what's happening in this case.
Yeah, so here we have this, Winsome Sears could be the first female black governor in the state of Virginia. Which again, we don't get all, like you said, we don't get all excited about what color some person is. It's like we just want to see the best person elected. But here you have somebody who could, break the glass ceiling, or whatever language they always use to refer to that. And now you have Barack Obama, who is campaigning for a white candidate, when he's been all about, he was the first black president, and everybody made a big deal about that, talking about race again. But it's just hypocritical. The left is so disgustingly hypocritical that I can hardly stand it. This is another example of that, where they don't even go by their own standards. They're not our standards, but they're their standards. And when it's an ideological position that's opposite of yours or differs from yours, they can't even tolerate the person. So anyway, that's disgusting. But let's talk about New Jersey. Because even after the Democrats took an incredible, beating in the last national election on their issues, especially the issues of LGBTQ, transgenderism, men playing in women's sports and invading women's private areas, private spaces, they're still at it again. So here we've got the New Jersey Democratic gubernatorial nominee, Mike Sherrill, I guess it is. And I'm sorry, I'm not Mike, Mickey. Mickey Sherrill. She suggested that she would make LGBT content in classrooms mandatory. And here's a direct quote from her. I believe that parents have the right to oversee their children's education, she began, but I would push an LGBTQ education into our schools. Parents have a right to opt out of a lot of things, but this is not an area where they should be opting out. It's just mind-boggling, again, that you would not allow parents to control the direction of their own children's
It's a core tenet of their religion.
education.
So it's a core tenet of their religion. What else am I going to opt out of? This is the most important thing in the world. So it's interesting because, people frame this as, if the Democrats sweep those three offices, they're going to frame it as, the nation's against Trump.
Yep.
But the truth is, here's the real truth. New Jersey, blue state. Virginia, blue state. New York City, as blue as it gets. The fact that Barack Obama has to be wheeled out to campaign at these places is saying that it shouldn't be. Now, we're not in the off-year midterm election. We're in the off year.
Yeah.
We're in the year in which you have a Republican in the White House, you have a Republican-controlled Congress and Senate. The Democrats should be sweeping these by double digits. They should be based on historical trend, because whenever you compensate another side wins really hard, the next year the other side rises, right? So Republicans have all the control, so Democrats should be fired up to vote. In this case, the fact that they have to wheel out Barack Obama to all these different places, it's saying, guess what? They are having a hard time. Now, I believe the New Jersey governor race is really, really close. It's too close to call again. Based on the polls, that's actually legitimate and not the poll that's framing the narrative. So the fact that the New Jersey candidate is so close, it's saying about Democrats are losing their hold on their people in the state of New Jersey. Yeah. I mean, when's the last time New Jersey had any bit of red, Well,
and it's interesting because historically, under the previous governor, Phil Murphy, he signed a law that required middle and high schoolers to include LGBT content in their classroom. Now, we're talking about middle school. So, to your point, New Jersey has become deeply blue and embracing a lot of just crazy things that the nation as a whole has, rejected. Let's talk about some other things. This is interesting. We've got also in Minnesota. Minnesota needs some good churches that preach biblical values and cultural reformation. Because from the top down, they got. Remember the mayor of Minneapolis, who's a leftist. We got Waltz, who is an absolute wacko. And now we got this guy who is the Democratic nominee for mayor of Minneapolis, who is a Somali. He's got them chanting, all the Somalis chanting Somali national kind of. In other words, we have a Somali who thinks he's still living in Somalia, who's running as a Somali, who has no attachment to the United States of America and has not assimilated as one of us or believes in anything we stand for. This is like a little Somali uprising here for mayor of Minneapolis. This is crazy. And speaking Somali, chanting Somali, and wearing waving Somali flags. What's happened to Minnesota?
I don't know what happens in Minnesota. It's in the Midwest for some reason, but I think it's a rampant immigration without any sort of assimilation. In fact, assimilation is seen as a bad word. So it's the phrase diversity is our strength. It's the lie from the pit of hell. If I hear that anyone from corporation, from businesses, I just want to be like, hey, try that in your household. Try everyone in your household have a complete different value. How you get peace at night. It doesn't work for your family. It doesn't work for your business. It doesn't work for your organization. It doesn't work for our nation. No. And the fact that you can say, hey, come here, establish your own little corner here, and don't try to assimilate to any of your neighbor, the greater Constitution of the United States or anything else, and just kind of do your own thing. But we're going to applaud you for it because America is built on stolen nation. It's a stolen land anyway. If I hear one more time, again,
which isn't true. We have a whole history of treaties and all kinds of negotiations and payments and everything.
And my argument against that is find one nation that there is not warfare and there's not blood and there's not taken. I mean, if you use that type of standard, then there is no nation that belongs in their land. And for all the people who love just using the argument, I just want to invite you personally to open your household and invite all the refugees to come and live in your household. Because you and I actually have taken people in our household and actually done that in reality.
It didn't go over big in Cape Cod, when they pushed
when they actually push
board.
It's not as easy as you think. Let me just say, you always like the government to do it. So it's not as easy as saying. But that to me is look at what's going on in England. It's a manifestation of people just saying, hey, they love the idea of it. They love the idea of all these people coming and bringing all these different ideas, and we have so many perspectives, and because of that, we're so strong because we have different values. No, different values does not work.
Well, and we forget. Okay, so let's talk about different values does not work. This is really scary, honestly, for if you're a citizen of New York, to think that this guy has a strong possibility, Mamdani, of getting elected. I'm just looking at the Jewish community, for instance. This guy has refused to distance himself from his anti-Semitic rhetoric. He associates with radical Islamic groups and causes, and all of the Jewish residents of New York City, and there are many, are deeply concerned for their safety. And here's why: because whenever an Islamist takes power, they approve of violence against their enemies, and the Jews are their most hated target. And so, you got all these folks saying, if this guy gets elected, we're going to have to flee New York City for our lives. So this is another example, to your point. It's not about diversity. True diversity happens in the Church of Jesus Christ when you have people who are from we have it Sunday. All different races, tribes, and languages, all under the authority of Jesus Christ. That's how you have true diversity. But when there's no common authority, no common worldview, there's no assimilation. And so you get characters like this. And he was also one of the biggest voices for the pro-Palestinian movements on the university campuses and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, we're talking about a diversity of expression, but a consistency or united over similar values. So we value the same things. We value Jesus Christ, and we might express it differently. You might express it through worshiping one type of way, singing one type of song. I might express it through prayer. That is healthy. That is strength. But to have diversity in values, that's what happened in New York City right now.
Oh yeah.
I don't know you hear about the recent scandal concerning Mamdani is he talked about 9/11. He talked about the trauma his aunt went through because now she can't wear her burqa in the subways. And I saw many posts on X that says, no, actually the worst thing that happened for 9/11 is all those people who died and burned.
Yeah,
and all
the
those,
thousands
all
of
those
people who died.
Firemen who went up there and whatnot. But the worst part was that story wasn't even true. And then because I think his aunt was actually in Africa at that time, and then
so he lied about it for political points.
He spin it to say, well, it's actually somebody else, my dad's cousin who I call aunt. Well, it turns out she's also out of the country at the time, and so forth. So things are cracking up. We're going to see what happens. New York City is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I know your philosophy, and I think it has merit, although we hate to see it happen. Is sometimes you let stupid run its course, and you elect somebody who shouldn't hold any office because of their radical views, and then you watch the unfolding, like we've seen in Chicago with that mayor. Only this guy is even more radicalized than that mayor. So you just wonder what in the world is going to happen, because every time these principles of basically socialistic Marxism principles are rolled out economically, they're utter failures. So it's going to cause a lot of hurt and misery to people, and sometimes that's the only way people learn. I hope New York can respond. I hope New York can come back. I know it can if the citizens of New York return to the Lord and return to the founding principles of this nation. Any nation can come back, or any city can come back. But it's going to be painful if this guy gets hit. It's going to be, like you said, interesting to see what happens with all the rich, the ones who own most of the businesses. The sky rises, that employ most of the people. I mean, they're going to be foolish to stay in a city that's going to tax you to death.
Well, people are already talking about, hey, we want to move to Florida, move to Texas. And you got people in Florida and Texas are saying, no, you voted for this. We don't want you here.
Yeah.
You voted for this. You stay for this. You guys voted for whatever consequences. You guys don't get to flee. So it's interesting because I think my philosophy is this, is people have to learn their own lessons sometimes. Certain lessons you can learn by teaching or through mentorship. And great. We should learn that way. But certain things and for certain people, you just have to learn the hard way. And I wonder, this is the case for New York City. New York's been... It's been the mega city of the world for a long time. We'll see if it can withstand this.
Well, and as we see in America, it's more of a soft despotism. It's not the heavy-handed, Islamic radical stuff that you see in other Muslim countries. It's more, like censorship or, these types of things. But what we're watching in Nigeria is a picture of what radical is. I want to say radical. It's just Islam, what Islam looks like. And I'm so glad that President Trump is finally using his bully pulpit, so to speak, to bring attention to this massacre that's been happening as Muslims to the north are making their way south, where most of southern Nigeria is Christians, and just coming into villages and slaughtering people, the whole village. It's atrocious. And no one seems to care again. There's no world outrage because these are Christians, and of course the aggressors are the Muslims again. And we just don't talk about those things, and so we just turn our backs on the bloodshed and the massacre that's happening. But Trump, when you're president of the United States of America, you have a massive pulpit, so to speak, and I'm glad that he's stepping into that pulpit and using it. And actually, I think he said threatening some sanctions if the government of Nigeria doesn't rise up and protect their citizens.
Well, I think he's talking about withholding aid. Again, I think we forget how much aid we're giving to the rest of the world. I have no clue.
Yeah.
But he's even threatening, if that's not happening, military action.
Yeah.
Which is not playing around. And then Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, responded. I saw his tweet. His responded to say, we are basically ready
well,
to
like
do
we
that.
did with ISIS. You got ISIS running around beheading Christians, raping women, and creating all kinds of havoc. And, the United States historically has come to the aid of those who cannot defend themselves. And I think it's a legitimate position for us as a world leader to come in and just stop that, the massacre and the bloodshed. So if that has to happen, and with Boko Haram, another, Muslim radical group, then so be it. I think when we rid the world of these kind of folks, the world is a better place. I think it certainly lines up with justice and with the call to stop evil and promote righteousness. So I have no problem with that, and I think the world is indebted to America, especially the weak and especially the oppressed minorities, when we come to their aid like that. But this is maybe an opportunity for us to give a plug for what's coming this coming Sunday, and I encourage everybody to get here. We've got Pastor Martin Cedra, and his wife Millie, who are young leaders of a church over in Australia. They are part of the TPUSA kind of speaking team, so they're traveling around America right now. But they're going to talk about what it's like being under Islamic reign. Egypt at one point was overwhelmingly Christian, which is hard for us to believe. Yeah. But because of the systematic murdering and attacking of Christians in those countries by the Muslims, now they're a tiny minority. And they're going to talk about the violence and some of the things that they've had to go through. And it's going to be a major prophetic wake-up call for the church. They're also going to be rolling out some curriculum, some training, I understand, about helping we as Americans understand the true threat of Islam and how they work and how they operate and what their goals are. So I'm very, very excited about that.
So tell our audience a little bit more about that night. How did you come to this kind of meeting, and what is the format? Is it going to be kind of you're going to interview them? What does that kind of look like?
Yeah, well, it's just interesting. You and I have talked about this before. Part of why I was so excited about our building expansion is that it simply gave us a larger venue. I felt like God's given us friends, lots of friends across the nation and the nations, who sometimes would love to come, but the space is just too small. And so now that we've been able to add the sanctuary space, and of course our partnership with TPUSA, with Charlie Kirk, it's opened the door for us to be able to accommodate a lot of these folks and help them get their messages out. And so we were approached. I guess he's going to be, Pastor Martin's going to be down at Michael Beckwith's church in Noblesville in the morning, and they had an open spot. And again, it was kind of quick, but we said, sure. Same thing happened. We haven't really got the word out on this too much yet because we don't want to overwhelm everybody, but we had a great relationship that we started with Sean Foyt, who, again, Sean's during COVID went around to all the capitals and led worship and, just bold and disruptive, strong leadership. And he is on a Courageous Christianity tour and will be coming to Living Stones as well the first Friday of December. So these to me are just some strategic relationships and doors that the Lord's opening for us to help on that whole cultural reformation piece, which is one of our 4 pillars here at Living Stones. So helping to take the gospel out of the 4 walls of the church and helping to empower our people to know what's going on and how to get engaged, and make a difference. So I'm really excited about it. We didn't search out either of these opportunities. They kind of came to us. And so I know it's made our staff have to be a little busier in this season, but I appreciate everybody's willingness to accommodate kind of the opportunities that, that we've been handed. So I'm excited.
This is Sunday night, 7 p.m., correct?
I believe the Sunday night one is at 6 p.m.
6 p.m., okay.
Yeah. And so, back to your question, though, it's I'm going to probably talk to him within the next week or so and just I really want to set the table for him and what's on his heart. He's a dynamic preacher and communicator, but I think he preaches with such zeal because, he understands what it's like to be persecuted. He understands the pain that Islam brings wherever it goes, the bloodshed, the pain, the suffering, the poverty. And so anyway, I'll probably be doing some question and answer time and kind of leading the discussion, but we'll see what the Lord's going to do.
Yeah, and I have some numbers here on Islam, some projections. The Pew Research Center projects Christianity, which once was about 90% Americans in 1970, will plummet to about 46% by 2070. Now,
those are trends.
Trends. I'm not saying that's going to happen. In Jesus' name, that's not going to happen, but based on the trends.
Yeah. So this is a good point. Like the trends for this high school generation now, this younger generation now, which one are we on? What are they? Gen whatever. Was absolutely abysmal. I remember when Barna did some research on that, and he said, wow, we're gonna lose an entire generation. Well, that's if and only if there's not a supernatural move of God that rescues a generation, and that's exactly what we're seeing happen. This generation, what was viewed as being, trend-wise, the worst, is now becoming a massive awakened generation. We can only pray that the same thing happens, with that data, that we don't follow the trends and that the Lord steps in or the church steps in and we see a massive turnaround.
So in contrast, based on these trends, the Pew Research projects that Islam by 2070 will grow to about 52% in America because of immigration, birthing rates, and conversions.
Yeah, let's flesh that out as well. Open borders, globalism, those who even have a view to destroy America and hate America, that's the immigration. It's not legal immigration, it's illegal immigration. The second one was birthing rates, okay? So, yes, the Muslims are having more kids than Christians are, and that's a shame. That should not be the case, but that is the case. And then the conversions. We know conversion for Islam is not, this is such a wonderful religion, especially when women look at it. Let me spend the rest of my life under a black veil from head to toe with an eye slit like this because you're treated like basically an animal. No one's converting to Islam unless it's under a sword. Or I have heard of young men that are looking, again, Islam would be attractive to most young men looking for a cause. It lets you rape women, it lets you be violent, and it promises you 70 virgins if you, commit murder of an infidel. So, I guess for a young guy that's kind of clueless and wanting some action, that's not such a bad gig if you don't know the Lord. But no one's converting to Islam unless it's in these countries where it's convert or die. So I'm not so worried about that, because when push comes to shove, Islam is rooted in fear and intimidation, and like I said, no one's lining up to go immigrate into Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq. They don't have an immigration problem.
But they're coming out to the West.
But they're coming to the West.
Look at England. Look at Europe.
Because of our foolishness. I think many in England and Europe are finally waking up. The elites are clueless. Well, not even say clueless. The elites are doing exactly what they want done. It's going to serve their, at least in their minds, it's going to serve their globalist interests, because what unites the elites and our Islamic folks is a hatred for Christianity. So I don't know where all that's going to go. Some of those, we're seeing a populist movement right now, and I just, in the time that we have left, we only have a few minutes, but the French president Emmanuel Macron just came out with this sweeping campaign to regulate online speech in Europe. So it's right back to what the Biden administration did. When they find speech that they don't like, they call it threatening, threat to democracy, and they either deplatform you or punish you or remove you or warn you, whatever. But the whole goal is to shut you up because you're not conforming to their larger agenda. This is that problem of elitism, and it's why we've seen populist movements across Europe. It's why President Trump, frankly, is in office. It's because the elites view the average person as Hillary said, deplorables, as dumb, unenlightened. The masses, your job as an elite is just to rule them and keep them in control and keep the, shoving your agenda down their throats. But the average person like you and I, we get sick of that. We're not stupid. We're not, deplorables. We just happen to have a different worldview. And we go, we're tired of this. And that's why we see these leaders rising up, kind of a pushback. But he's at it again and basically threatening to be fined, imprisoned. I mean, if you post something that he doesn't like, he considers that a threat to the nation or whatever. You're going to jail or you're paying a fine, which again is tyranny at its finest. So this is what we're dealing with. This is interesting too. Most of the leaders in Europe don't have any kids. It's amazing to me that they're Britain, Germany. I don't know about Macron, but most of the world leaders across Europe are childless, so they have no vision for the future. They have no understanding of family, any of the things that the normal person holds to be precious and valuable. And so, this is what we're going to deal with: the elites and us peons. And it's interesting that the left is pushing all this class warfare, neo-Marxism. But really, the real class warfare is between the elitist group that wants to globalize the world and the rest of us that are just trying to live free and mind our own business. So anyway, this was deeply concerning to me because it's right back to an erosion of freedom under the guise of protection. Let us protect you. This has the smell of COVID-19 all over again, only with the speech issue. So anyway, deeply concerning to me on that front.
Well, that's exactly what's happened in England. People are being jailed for memes, for making fun of politicians, making fun of Islam, and they're literally going to jail, which, that's what they're spending the tax dollars, policing the internet to see who's out of line in speech.
Yeah, well, it's interesting to do. Christians understand that Muslims don't like dogs. Like, they get freaked out about dogs. So you have these young European women walking in their streets with a dog to protect themselves from Muslim men who want to touch them inappropriately, rape them, hurt them. And so the government comes out and says, hey, please be sensitive that you probably shouldn't be walking your dog by Muslims because they're offended by dogs. And I'm thinking, like, how tone deaf are you? Obviously, they're not walking their dog to offend a Muslim. That's not their motive. They're walking the dog to protect themselves from the violence that they're facing every day in your streets because you keep caving in to this. Everybody, let's embrace this world where we, like you pointed out, where everybody is diverse and everybody lives as one big happy family. It doesn't work that way. That's not the way Islam works. But this is the kind of nonsense that we get from the leaders over there when the normal citizens are just trying to protect themselves.
But see, my question is, how did you guys elected them? Like, I look at those people and I'm like, unless you're a minority group who vote for the right person, you at large elected these guys. So there's something in you guys that says that has accepted this multiculturalism, that, hey, this is some type, this mass immigration with no assimilation is somehow good. Somehow they bought into that.
Well,
that's where they're at.
I don't know if the population by and large bought into that or if they elected, it's so hard once you get somebody into office, it's hard to get an incumbent out of office. So I don't know if all these elites get into office and then they pass this crazy immigration stuff where everybody's, no borders. I feel for the average person over there who's going, I didn't vote for all these illegals coming into our country. I didn't vote for that. But here they are, and now I'm trying to live my life, and I can't throw these guys out of office because now they've got now we're letting illegals vote, and we're letting them have, financial aid from the government and all these kinds of things, tax dollars. I mean, I feel for that person out there that's going, what in the world happened to my country? To your point, some people do need, like, I look at some of our psycho cities out west or on the East Coast that have put people into office that are destroying their cities or their states. So my daughter my daughters got back from a concert in Indianapolis, and they said they couldn't believe what's happened to Indianapolis. People all over the streets, sleeping on the streets, gunshots throughout the night, and they found out there were two youths that were murdered. This is what's happening in these urban areas, and at some point, again, to your point, people have to take accountability for the people that they put into office because they're not doing their job, especially regarding public safety. So anyway, but I've been to Indy for years and years and years. It was always very clean. I always felt very safe. But this is happening not just in Indianapolis. If it can happen in Indianapolis, a big red state, right? Yeah. With a blue government over Indianapolis, but then it can happen anywhere. I can't imagine what some of these major urban areas are like in terms of just feeling safe, walking around, shopping, whatever. Last thing, we got 1 minute. What'd you think of J.D. Vance's comment that he would really love to see his wife come to know Christ? I believe she's from Indian background, Hindu background? Yeah,
she's Hindu, Indian background. I think he says she's agnostic. I'm not sure. But he did a TPUSA event, 40 minutes or so.
Yeah, that was awesome. I didn't see it, but that was in Mississippi, wasn't it?
One of the university. Something maybe Mississippi University. But he was there with Erica Kirk, and again, for a vice president to be able to do what like Charlie Kirk does, like Megyn Kelly, Charlie Kirk, you got
what they were saying, and I didn't see it, but I read about it. He basically went to the microphone and in front of 10,000 students and who knows how many people watching online. Here's a politician who is keenly aware of a verbal misstep. Yeah. And he is saying, talk to me. And articulate, in a very articulate way, answering some of the most thorny issues of our culture. That's brilliant.
For him to put himself in that place of vulnerability to do it as a vice president, it's very, very brave. But also, I'm impressed because that's not normally his job to do that. Right. You got talking heads, people like commentators who do that every day. They are very skilled at that. For a politician to do that, you try to have like Kamala Harris do that. It should in the last 10 minutes of people.
Well, most politicians, if their teleprompter is not working, they don't have any convictions about anything.
But back to your point, which is he made a statement that he's praying for his wife to know Christ. And there was, of course, all kind of attack, like multiculturalism, who are you to impose your beliefs and different things. And the greatest commentary is, if J.D. Vance is authentic in his belief in the gospel, the greatest love he can have for his wife or his kids is that they believe in the gospel. That's all you got to say. That's all you got to understand.
Yeah.
Like if he doesn't want his wife to get to know Jesus, either he doesn't truly believe his faith, so he's a hypocrite,
That's right.
or he doesn't love his wife. The only way for him to truly be authentic and believe in his faith and truly love his wife is for him to say what he said. That's it. It's logic.
That's beautiful. That was well stated, Andrew. That was well stated. That's right. If he doesn't love her, then he can just stay quiet. And
cares
his
about her
faith,
eternal faith.
who cares about her eternity and his faith? Obviously, he doesn't even believe in his faith. Yep. It's interesting that this whole multiculturalism thing really only works with people who have no transcendent convictions about anything. I mean, Islam obviously radically believes, what they believe.
Yeah.
Hindus believe what they believe. I mean, every faith believes what they believe and have no problem sharing it with other people, except for secular Western progressive atheists, and they don't really believe in anything. So
they shove it down people's throat all the time, though. They believe in power.
Yeah,
about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Well, anyway, I think that this is all so insightful because our worldviews really do reflect how we live, how we operate, how we conduct our business. And obviously, the difference between J.D. Vance and a Muslim is J.D. Vance will lovingly, winsomely try to live out and share his faith with his wife and pray that the Holy Spirit touches her heart. Whereas a Muslim would say, convert or die.
Can you imagine a Muslim vice president, someone with that level of authority, and his wife is not Muslim? Can you ever imagine that picture?
Oh, it wouldn't.
My wife is a Christian. My wife is a Buddhist.
Yeah. Not going to happen.
So you talk about the most tolerant religion. We are the most tolerant religion.
Yeah, and again, ideas have consequences, and that's why Christianity has led to the greatest country and the greatest freedom that the world knows, and that's why we need to keep protecting and promoting it and not be passive about it. So one step in the right direction is come on out Sunday night, 6 o'clock. Again, we have a special Christ in Culture gathering that you're not going to want to miss, so I encourage you to come out. Also come out and join us because we need revival and awakening, and we need help, and that's what prayer is. It's our lifeline to the Lord to give us the resources that we need to get the mission done, and so we encourage you to come out. And speaking of that, wasn't it amazing, the incredible generous display toward launching Roar Schools in unreached countries? In case you weren't here, over $300,000 raised in a special offering that's going to now not only plant 10 Roar Schools, but probably plant about 25 Roar Schools. So anyway, that was amazing. So anyway, let's keep involved. We appreciate your feedback. Please let others know about this podcast and share it far and wide. And we'll look forward to seeing you next Thursday.